Hi, I'm Janaea Mogley. Greetings, I'm Kiana Watson.
Hi, I'm Zoriani Hughes.
Greetings, I'm Nia Morgan, and for all things FAMU athletics, check out the O&G StrikeZone
On Wednesdays at the Black College Sports Network.
Go Rattlers!
All right, shout out to the FAMU softball ladies. Always appreciate the love. And again, thanks to Rick Kinsey, 2024 FAMU Sports Hall of Famer, for joining us in the last segment. Yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, I can't put him on timeout.
Hey, I don't know who's worse, EA or Edwin Moore. Both of them antagonistic.
Well, yeah, exactly. All right, let's kind of move into some of the FAMU related things. Oh boy. Oh, this is great timing. Okay. Great timing. Okay, let me start with, I don't know, I think this was story 1B in my opinion, but it came out second, right? It came out second. That news, it's crazy, Kelvin. I'm sitting there, I don't even think I was half awake when you sent that to me. And I looked up and said, what? We're what? So yes, the story came out Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Late Monday, Tuesday morning. That Florida A&M University was, for the 6th consecutive year, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. Y'all don't even remember when that was originally coined, right? That was, I still say, one of the greatest pre-hype pep rallies that people hated on. But anyway, the 6th year consecutive, the #1 public HBCU. Sorry, Aggies. I know there was a lot of Aggie talk. I don't know what report they were looking at, but anyway, Florida A&M also. We were last year in the 90s among the top 100, correct?
Yeah,
90 something, moved up to number 81. So, despite all the noise, Kelvin, all the noise,
think about it.
FAMU still rising, still sitting at the top. Pretty awesome stuff.
God's University, man, and again, you have to get a lot of the credit to the previous administration. This was one of the focal point. The type of students we're admitting, the programs, there's still things we can even go to that next level, like with research dollars and grants. But man, this is significant. It's big to have a HBCU with resources. If you look at the schools that we're ranked ahead or just in our immediate area that are non-HBCUs, you look at their operating budgets and their research dollars and their foundations. For us to be there and still not fully not made whole, I mean, it's big. It's significant, man. And I really think that when we get to story 1A, as well as our new administration and some of the things that are happening with some of those appointments, I think we're on the road to go even higher.
Just reading a couple of comments here. I'm just kind of reading the article. So with Florida A&M being ranked number 81, that's a 20-spot rank over the past 2 years, following a ranking of 91 last year and 103 in 2022. Just quoting here from FAMU Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer Donald Palm, quote, "When we work together, hard work pays off. We have to show up every day and give our best. President Beard also quoted as saying, as the university continues its upward trajectory in the national rankings, Beard believes FAMU will make bigger jumps in the years to come, saying, quote, within 5 years, I believe we can crack the top 50. Woo.
Ambitious, but possible.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Among the university's mainly noted achievements in the rankings, other highlights that were shared at the Tuesday event include being ranked number 152 among all national universities, number 87 in the best value schools category, which measures an institution's academic quality at an affordable cost, and number 20 on the social mobility index. Good stuff. Scanning here. During the 23-24 fiscal year, FAMU received a record $112.4 million in research awards compared to $96.4 million in 22-23. Awesome, man. We continue to make strides. Let me see. One last note here. As FAMU has set a goal of reaching a Carnegie R1 classification, i.e. very high research activity by 2030, it is currently ranked Carnegie R2, high research activity. So I know that is the goal, and that's something here good friend Dr. Cavill talk about often for our university.
Let me just add.
Yeah.
Let me just add, if we can add a couple of professional programs, maybe a school of veterinarian school, that was talked about before too, and we have the means to do that. Maybe some other STEM grad degrees. Those are kind of things, along with the research money that you're bringing in and your budget stuff, that would kind of help you get to that top 50. It takes resources. It's expensive. So hopefully that's what we work in dental school. That's right, Dr. Lori. Absolutely. Those are two schools.
Yeah, Doc. Yeah, definitely. She would love that, for real.
Yeah, those are two schools that we could bring on that would help get us there.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of good stuff happening. Doctoral programs. All right. So yeah, I mean, talk about an exciting start of the week.
Yes.
A lot of positive things, and
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, just and we notably said it was story 1B. Because I can't tell you, story 1A is just like exciting news. We told you last week it was coming. We told you last week she was coming. And nobody fumbled the bag, and it's a done deal. As our AD, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics, this is Angela Suggs, came home, is home, back to the highest of Seven Hills. There it is, the high. With an I watched it again this morning, actually this afternoon. The introductory press conference. I learned things about numbers that I didn't know. And I genuinely had a big smile on my face as I'm hearing it, and I mean, man, it's exciting. It's exciting, and I think a point of personal reflection is it feels good seeing somebody who understands our university and all of its beautiful, sometimes messy, sometimes complicated, sometimes fabulous and outstanding, who understands it all.
Right.
And when you have that working for you, any and all great things are possible.
That's right. Anything's possible.
Anything is
Hey,
possible.
and let me add, Brian,
Please.
before the next guest comes on, there was a lot of guys who was walking in the rain or chopping onions that watched that because of the genuineness, the sincerity, the emotion of the moment, how much it meant. You understood. And I'm sure there's a journey there, right?
Man.
And I've got a question teed up about that journey. So I'm gonna let you do
Well,
the honors.
it's an honor to bring on to the show. I consider family none other than our new athletic director, vice president of intercollegiate athletics. This is Angela Suggs. Welcome back to the O&G family. Good to have you back. Congratulations and welcome.
Woohoo! Woohoo!
How are you this evening?
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Okay.
We hear
Yes,
you
yes.
loud and clear.
I am well. Just rolled back into Tallahassee maybe about 20 minutes ago from Orlando, and the traffic is out there. The rain is out there, but
Yeah.
needed to get back, make sure that home is squared away so that we can hunker down here. My mother-in-law is here. And in terms of Davin and I coming back, but was honored to be in Orlando earlier today for the Greater Orlando Sports Women in Sport Leadership event, where I was presented with that leadership award. And it was truly an honor to be in a sold out arena there on UCF's campus. It was really just incredible. And they did speak about my next chapter, and the reception was really well. UCF's AD, Terry Mahajer, definitely extended his greetings and support of who we are and what we do, as well as the AD from Rollins College, Penny, being there. And so it was great. It was great to be in the space for sure.
Well, congratulations on that award. As I was getting a chance to kind of just flip back through that, and I want to also, before just talking about the introductory press conference, I got to give a shout out to Mr. Campbell and the guys from the Coach's Corner, the show you did last night. I ain't even mad about being scooped. I got some texts. They're like, B, they scooped us. I saw, I said, oh, that's Mr. Campbell, man. That, it's all love. That's old school FAMU right there. That's
Campbell and Coach Cole. If you've been in HBCU football for a minute, the Cole brothers, God rest the soul of his brother, but the Cole brothers, you can't really be an HBCU football fan and not, at least give the respect. And Coach Hayes had been on there as well.
Yeah.
And so definitely.
Yeah, no, but it was a great job by the guys. Glad they got a chance to bring you on, and so I struggle because I don't really know. I'll be honest, I don't even know where to go with questions, because I have the fortune of talking and just having a chance to talk to you, but I did not know the significance of numbers, and that blew my mind. And I mean, it felt so. I mean, it was prophetic. It really was. I heard you say it in the press conference, and then I'm hearing you say it in the two other interviews I watched, and I'm like, man, that truly is on that's power. That's on God's timing. And I mean, I don't even know what to ask about that, but just the importance of finding your moment and really recognizing that moment. What does that feel like?
Certainly, timing is everything. And as I shared last night, and as I added, rather, Coach Cozy is the 19th head football coach.
Yes, I heard that. Yep.
And Curtis Johnson is the 19th NAA National Alumni Association president. And so for it all to come together, and again, as we look at it really in timing, however you want to put that forth, or whatever meaning you want to put associated with it. 2 years ago, when we had the conversation and went through the process, I just believed that we had 2 more years of things that we needed to bring into the fold, learn in our experiences with the Florida Sports Foundation, a few more trips to take, a few more events to experience, a few more people to meet, knowing that this journey would take us to where we are now, where we're going on October 7th, and what we introed just a couple of days ago. And again, as we move forward, I needed the last 2 years in order to be able to come lock arms with the team, lock arms with President Beard, and be able through the new leadership team. I'm super excited to have the opportunity to work with Alonda Thomas again, and the experiences that she has had at Howard and at Jackson State, and now for her to come back home as well. Sarah, I see you in the comment there. But with that, again, these experiences to take us on this path needed to meet, like I said, a few more people, because I met the UCF AD within the last 2 years. So to see him then again today, where there was a little more familiarity, right? That we can go into those conversations from a warm perspective instead of, having it to possibly be a cold call, if you will. I am truly appreciative. I'm blessed to be able to be your athletics director for our alma mater and our Rattlers.
I love that, by the way. I love how you did that. I love how you brought that home and reminding us about our and yours. And kind of almost in sync to kind of what Mr. Kinsey was talking about earlier about when we have an ownership in something and we really give, we kind of treat it differently. I mean, and when we really take note of that and make it ours and understand that it takes all of us moving in the same direction, we can do some great things as we've noticed. Before I throw it over to you, Kelvin, I want to ask, from sitting on the outside and seeing FAMU move, as I said, you know FAMU well, you worked in athletics, you know the university well, and watching FAMU from the outside, and I love the fact that you said that you're going to make a concerted effort of talking with everybody and listening. But as you watch from the outside, and obviously you hear people's concerns and things, what was maybe this or something that you think that people missed or maybe didn't quite understand as we've kind of watched events over, I'm gonna go as far and say maybe the last 2 years, just from your perspective, what's something that we have missed or maybe didn't quite understand or maybe misinterpreted or maybe misrepresented?
Sure. And so the inner workings of the enterprise, if you will, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes to really being able to have a successful Division I FCS program at a low resource institution, especially one that has the legacy and the history of Florida A&M University. I mean, we've been doing this thing for well over 100 years as it relates to varsity sports. And when it comes to the big names, and when you dig down into the legacy of FAMU athletics. When you go back all the way to Juby Bragg, or you go all the way back to when we had our first game and we played Tuskegee and Alabama State in the same week, 2 to 3 days within each other, and then you pull that forward into our modern day. But before getting here, and you're talking about, when you think HBCU football, you think two greats, and maybe that's coming from a biased perspective, but you're thinking Jay Gaither and you're thinking Eddie Robinson, right? You know, I know that we have others that have come from other great institutions, and we have classics named after them and everything. But when ESPN rolls a story, they're not going to roll that story without talking about one of the two of them, and we have one of them. When we talk about the Division I AA National Championship that just celebrated last year, 45 years, and that team that, you know, of course, we've been speaking about, that beat the University of Miami, and all of the trailblazing successes that you have. When you come in and bring that into the 21st century, when you bring that beyond 2020, when you then invite in not just where we are now with NIL, with cost of attendance, and everyone talking about training tables and all of the things that come into the business of athletics, you put that with, you know, being able to sustain it while also raising the funds that are necessary. If we're talking about how much gas costs and eggs costs, imagine jet fuel. So if we're talking about how much so what it costs to put the team on the plane and take them to Detroit along with the band in the early 2000s and sell out Ford Field with Alabama State, who's our next opponent, to be able to maintain that. I think, you know, there's opportunity for us to take a look at our do some peer comparisons in terms of being able to know that people are catching up to us. Some of them are, you know, trying to pass us. I don't think we're too far behind, but we can definitely get there. And just look at the industry standard, right? The best practice. Intercollegiate athletics is an industry. It's not just something that happens at 1835 out there at Gibson Way, right? There are institutions that are similar to ours. There are institutions that have the same pain points as us, but they are the institutions that also are achieving some of the successes that we can also achieve. So I think that as we've gone through as much transition as we have, we, you know, the inner workings of it and the business of the enterprise. When we look at revenues, it's not as simple as just we got to raise more money. No, we've got to have a revenue strategy. And what are those revenue strategies going to be? But what's our capacity, though? Because I can say all day that we're going to bring in all of these points of sale units into concessions and into the stadium. But if I don't have enough, you know, if I don't have enough capacity from a broadband perspective or a technology perspective, then the experience is messed up. So when we talk about listening, internally as well as externally, internally, we've got to find out from across the campus, across the divisions, what assets we have on campus, how we best utilize those assets in collaboration so that we can then look at revenue opportunities in addition to raising funds philanthropically from private donors and all of the successes that, you know, all of the affinity groups. I heard you speaking of Mr. Kinsey and others that have come through, Rattlers in Arms and Eddie Jackson 220 Quarterback Club, our Rattler F Club, of course, our Rattler Boosters, the heart of it all, and our National Alumni Association and what they have given to athletics. But how then do we bring all of that together, establish a plan, establish some goals, looking at the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, that where is it that we're trying to go and how is it that we do a little bit more year by year?
Go ahead, Kelvin.
You know, without going in too much to any previous conversations, Angelo, you've been at the university. you understand in athletics the history there. How are you different now coming into this position as the vice president versus when you were here previously?
I'm a little more calm with it as we look, because again, I'm a fan as well. But sitting in the seat that I've sat in, I've had to definitely prioritize being a sports professional over the emotion that comes through sport. And serving in the seat with the Florida Sports Foundation, we are definitely solution focused, results oriented. We are definitely data driven. We carry the numbers, $70+ billion in economic impact. We look at the number, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are created through sport, amateur, professional, recreational, leisure, sticking to the plan and looking at what our goals are, looking at benchmarks, establishing and being intentional about producing, if you will. The majority of our budget with the Sports Foundation comes from the professional sports plates that you see on the roads. Well, when we came in 2017, I think we were right at about $2.6 million or somewhere around there. Well, if that's the majority, or if that's a good bit of our operating budget for sport development, because we have some other pockets that we are responsible for as well. But for bringing, recruiting, and retaining events to our state, and to be able now 7 years later to have closed last year out at $6.4 million, where we then were able to almost triple the revenues from that, $25 at a time. Now, winning helps. So, the Bucks pulling out Super Bowl 55, Stanley Cup championship in the state of Florida, where we are kings of the ice as well here in the great state, between the Tampa Bay Lightning and our recently crowned Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. We're able to push that, but we had to be intentional about it. We could not, be passive, right, in the approach. We had to go out and ask people, make people aware that by purchasing these plates, that they're also supporting youth and amateur sports. Because and if it goes with your car and that's why you're getting it, that's fine too. But for us to again go from 2.7 to $6.4 million, we're just truly excited about that. But again, the team, our sports commissions hosting back-to-back Super Bowls, while the local sports commissions, they are the boots on the ground that do the bid. But for us to then come in and provide support from the state, looking at for Super Bowl 55 in Tampa, we also hosted the CFP National Championship the same year in Miami. That year, of course, was 2021. The spring of 2021. CFP National Championship, we didn't even know which conferences were going to compete, let alone being able to then go in and see who would participate. So we had that where we had to create solutions. Not playing the game was not an option, right? It was just how we were going to play the game. Same thing with Super Bowl. But what we were able to establish with the chairs of the Tampa Super Bowl host committee, Derek Brooks and Weatherford, in terms of being able to then pull the entire community together. When we said it was one Tampa, it was one Tampa. It was the city of Tampa. It was Hillsborough County. It was the NFL. It was Pinellas County. It was Pasco. Everyone came together to make sure that Super Bowl 55 was safe and that it was an experience, the best that we could possibly have in the time that we were in, that we hope is a generational experience, right? But those are the things. And coming back now, I've got to find a way to yes. And those relationships across campus and being able, I'm not going to just be able to run up in there without the selling presentation, because I got to sell internally as well as externally. It's our job to educate
Yep.
our colleagues on campus. It's our job to, bring about what the NCAA is saying, what the Southwestern Athletic Conference is saying, what are best practices as it relates to institutions that are making 950s and above as a full program in APR, those institutions that are coming forth and succeeding in this new landscape. And so the difference is I've got a whole lot more patience to be able to see it through. And if we don't get it across the line today, we just got to come back to the table again and bring it across the table maybe in 2 weeks or 2 months.
All right. And my follow up to that is, so you coming in where the budget is already the budget for this year. You've got some vacancies in the department. What is your priorities? How do you prioritize? What's your plan with short term for this physical year? And then I'm sure you have some things in your mind that you would like to do, whether it be short term or long term. So just kind of talk about that.
Sure. And when we look at revenues, we've got to look at exhausting what opportunities we can look at in the short term. And that's where speaking with the division of, the CFO's office, right? And taking a look at where the opportunities are, understanding the contracts that are already in place. What part do we play, or what role do we play in the Pepsi agreement? What role do we play in the Barnes and Noble agreement? What's in place already? And then, what are some things maybe even that we used to do that we don't do anymore, but then also looking at additional opportunities that we may have there. Getting with VP Brown and her team to take a look at the budget. What was the plan, or what is the plan going into it? I did, of course, listen to our Board of Trustees meeting, but just sitting with the team to understand some of the strategies that they put in place before, share some things that could possibly help us this year. But I start October 7th. Around January, February, it's time to look at next fiscal year.
That's right.
So that's the biggest thing in terms of us being able to look at what we can do this year to set us up for next year and the year beyond that. We're going to have to build this plane and fly it at the same time. And in doing that, coming into a budget that's already built, while we need to be thinking about, because in a lot of spaces, we can secure partnerships and agreement, revenue opportunities, and that would take us into next year. As we look at even season tickets for next fiscal year, that activity will start this year, right? And so as we then look at some of those things, we've got to exhaust internally as well as externally whatever it is that we can do to achieve this desire and goal of a balanced budget, while also already thinking about FY26. Right now, last week before last, I'm already submitting my legislative budget request for the Florida Sports Foundation for fiscal year 26. And so I'm in fiscal year 25, but I've been working on fiscal year 26 since July, since the first month of the first quarter of this year. I've already been looking at my request and what our budget is going to be for next year. So we'll bring some of those things in. But again, it's not just me. I don't do that alone at the Sports Foundation. We lock arms with Florida Commerce. We lock arms with our industry partners across the state to see what's realistic and what we can shoot for in terms of managing that budget.
Awesome.
You guys in the chat rooms, love you guys in the chat room. Lots of stuff. One of these days, Angela, when you're ready, we're just gonna have when you're ready to do an open town hall and just field questions, because folks just got questions and demands. I'm surprised some of y'all in the chat haven't started dropping demands like, when can we get this back and when can we do this? So I'm just like skipping over half. I'm skipping over half of that stuff because I know it's out there. and I'm trying to think of questions and things that maybe Mr. Campbell and the guys didn't hit on with you. I'm curious about from the role that you've had with the Florida Sports Foundation, which you interact with a lot of entities and a lot of sports entities within the state. I notice, I don't mean to say, hey, I don't want you to pick anybody out in particular, but I'm just curious, is there an organization or maybe a couple of organizations that you have seen do things that you say that can translate at our level? Now, Kelvin and I often talk about things that we see and we say, that can be done at our level, even if it's at a smaller scale.
Scalability.
Scalability. Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious, as you've seen within the state, what entities or what organizations maybe have you seen that bring something like that to mind?
Sure. And so I'll go with two. I'll go with the Vinnick Group, and there are several in the state. I'll go with the Vinnick Group, which of course is the Tampa Bay Lightning, but there are other entrepreneurial efforts and businesses within the Vinnick Group on top of the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? And then, of course, what Mr. Ross is doing in Miami. And I'll with the Vinnick Group, there is a sports marketing entity that's a part of the Vinnick Group that goes out and works with institutions in terms of securing multimedia rights and other opportunities there. Of course, there are concerts there at Amalie Arena and many other things above and beyond what we know to be a championship NHL program, right? In addition to that, what happens in Miami, what happens in Miami Gardens right there on the corner of Don Shula Drive, also known as 199th Street and 27th Avenue, is amazing, right? You have the Miami Dolphins. You also have Miami Open Tennis. You also have the Rolling Loud concert series. You also have Miami Grand Prix. You also have the training facility that has come to the grounds. You now have market rate apartments that are in the Miami Gardens area. You have a Starbucks. You have the first Topgolf that came to the Tri-County area, not just to Miami-Dade County, but it came to Miami Gardens, large in part to the investment and everything that was put there. I bring that up because while we may not, have Formula One and all of these things, from an experience standpoint, above and beyond just NFL events, right? And to be able to command that experience with the group there that Mr. Ross has in place, Miles Pastoris and others that are there at the stadium that negotiate all of these great experiences for Floridians and people that come from all over the world. Kelvin and I have been there at Miami Grand Prix to observe from different vantage points, but to really see how the experience and how we can then care that much and invest that much in our planning to be able to provide experience for our fans, our stakeholders, and people that come so that they will come back no matter what it is that we're having there. But it also tells you that we can do more than football at our venues as well, and see how we can add that to the enterprise and add that to our revenue strategies. And we're not going to do it all at once. All of these things that we're talking about, Jazz in the Gardens that comes there in partnership with the city of Miami Gardens, and how the diversity of events that are coming into that space as well as being involved in the community. And so not just those two entities, but when we talk about community impact, when we talk about social responsibility, when we talk about Florida A&M University, specifically as it relates to the front porch and what we are doing as it relates to the 850, the Big Bend area, and who we are and our presence in the space, that means that trunk or treat or summer camps or whatever it is, when you think, what can I do? We want you to think FAMU. We want you to think that there is something at FAMU that is a part of this community. And even if it's in partnership with Campus Rec or in partnership with SGA, in partnership with student affairs, or anyone that is bringing people to campus, that is the experience that then is the future student that comes to campus, the future professor that comes to campus, the future whoever resident of Tallahassee and Leon County, that they came to a FAMU event and they had such a great experience, because that's what we do with the Sports Foundation. You came to Super Bowl, my intent is that you move here. We gave you such a great experience that you're going to leave your state where you pay state taxes and you are moving to Florida because you came to a sporting event in Florida. So why can't we do that at FAMU? You came to the person that started all of the great build out that's happening at the University of Florida. He didn't go to the University of Florida. The business school investment came from a guy that went to a football game in Gainesville.
Wow.
It is.
And I saw who was it? Who No Saint had put in there. I noticed that in your comments over the last couple of days, the emphasis of reaching out to the community, and not just Tallahassee, but you noted that the 850, the area, which, and I love the fact I think it's some of the numbers that I've heard, but 200,000 people that, are all within the reach of FAMU. And us being that entity that we are, and that entity that we brag about, there's so many people within the community that maybe don't come to FAMU. And we talk about why not FAMU. It's almost one of those slogans for the city and the area. Why not FAMU? Why aren't you coming to FAMU for games? I mean, that's very intentional. I like that. Chef's kiss on that one, AD.
Hey, another one. Are you in?
We just tossed that.
I'm in.
There we are. What else you got? I did highlight a couple of good ones here from the chat. But what else you got, Kelvin? And then I'll ask Angela.
No, I was going to go with some of the ones that I think Kenya has a nice one. She asked about what you learned working on the prior ADs.
That's the one I highlighted.
That you would like to implement. I think that's a good one.
Yeah. So can you ask about maybe what you learned working under prior ADs that you'd like to implement?
So I will share a lesson learned that we can't do it alone. We cannot silo ourselves. We've got to really invest in relationships. Communication is key. Being able to do now. So each of the ADs, we were able, because I was on the external side of the house. And so while I was, eventually became senior woman administrator, I maintained my external responsibility, which is unique for senior woman administrators. Many of them are coming from academics and compliance. And for me, it was the reverse. So once I became senior woman administrator, I had to be all in on APR for my teams that I was sport administrator for, all in on graduation success rates and all of that. So much so to the point when we were in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, or the MEAC, I am proud and honored to say that we won back-to-back Mary McLeod Bethune Women's Sport Program of the Year back-to-back on the way out. And so we were able, and that comes from our APR rates, our championships, our graduation rates, all of that pooled into one to then award a women's program of the year. And so to be able to do that was good. And we did a lot of good things. North End Zone Club, we were able to bring in with probably one of the shortest termed AGs that I experienced, but we were able to grow the President's Club into that. And we didn't make that up. We brought that from Florida Citrus Sports. Before they did the build out that they're doing now, they had something called the Uprights Club. So similar to what we were talking about from what we saw or what we see in Miami, what we see in Tampa and other places, we looked at that Uprights Club and said, hey, we can do that in the North End Zone. And Kelvin was working down in POM at the time, and he and Craig Towson and Kendall Jones and all of us, we stood on that piece of grass. They looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, ah. But then when we pulled it up and got it down there, it definitely is something that, started out great. It has grown tremendously. We got to take a look at the experience there, and we applaud the support. And that's a partnership. We applaud the support of University Advancement and what that team has done to keep that going, right? In support of the game day experience. So continuing to talk across campus and taking a look at that. Of course, each AD that I had, and I had 5, and then I had the interim 3 times, but all of them were different. All of them brought different experiences. I am friends with each and every one of them right now, and all of the interims as well, both interims, because we had Dwayne Robinson, who of course was just named the vice president and director of athletics at Alcorn. So I look forward to serving with him in the SWAC around the table, but definitely the importance of relationships is something that is pivotal, because I've seen it work several different ways. Relationships with our external stakeholders, listening to our external stakeholders, being patient, understanding that, in terms of the opportunity for them to share, particularly with our seasoned rattlers, those that have been around and know that they have just as much pride and they want to see the success, and to just sit and speak with them. And I can't text them to find out the information from them. So knowing and understanding and seeing it work at different levels with the ADs, those are some of the things that I learned, going in and really being with the audience that I'm with at the time, and being able to share and receive. And fortunately, so I'm in a class span where I was here because my husband and I did marry a rattler, and we are building a dynasty, as they say. But I came in first, and it was kind of like we passed the baton. And what's so funny is in the yearbook where I'm a senior, Davin is on the next page, right? And so I'm on one page as a senior. He's on the next page, Rattler Nation, as a freshman. And so
shout out to the class of 92.
Because I did an extra year. He did an extra year as well. He has his 5 years. So we got 10 years of people. Throw in my parents when they were working here, throw in their people. I think that we can sit down on many, many sofas, many, many front porches, backyards, and really get some things. But one thing I want to say is we talked about a town hall, and that is in the works. What we plan to do over the next 100 days is meet with stakeholders, have these conversations, take a look at some spreadsheets, and take a look at some contracts, take a look at what's in place, figure out what our capacity is. As I mentioned before, we're going to do some roundtables for these listening sessions. And so we'll be coming to a city near some of you. And we will try to have it as a hybrid situation, if you will, perhaps. Maybe we can set up some virtual roundtables through your platform and through your show. And like you said, have the open. But then what we will do, top of January or so, when we, kind of wrap up, we'll report the findings in a in-person town hall meeting and just talk about it. And my plan and my goal is to do that every January. That in January, which would be the middle of the fiscal year, it'll be the planning for the next fiscal year, that we would meet with stakeholders and really lay out the successes that we have achieved together and talk about some of the things that we have on the horizon as well.
Excuse me, did you say plan? Okay, all right, shots.
Woo, it'd be nice to get one of those. Let me ask this question from Ashley C. And you don't have to go specifics here, obviously, but what's interesting, Ashley asked, can we implement naming rights at the stadium like Pitbull has recently done at FIU? I'll ask you maybe in a different way. How challenging in the state of Florida is doing what they did, and is that possible at Florida A&M University?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Naming rights and large sponsorships, that is something that we will take a look at. I know that we've had relationships with several third parties. I know that there's several different thoughts about third parties. We have to see how that works or why it didn't work in the past and how we move forward. But what happens in relationships like that, particularly at institutions like ours, where we are thin in staff, and because fulfillment is even more important than securing the deal, right? Stewarding the relationship and being able to prove out performance year over year, because there's value that these entities are investing in. But that's where these third parties, that's all they do, right? And they are like a brokerage firm where they have several different entities that they're doing it for. And so for some of them, not necessarily for talent, right, or for personalities or celebrities, as they did at the FIU stadium, but definitely for Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, they are representing those brands at multiple sporting venues, right? And so it's different when they are bringing a property like ours, a sports property like Florida A&M, to the table, along with all of the other successful sports properties that they have, right? So again, we've got to take a look at that. The Pitbull piece, it's going to work for it's Miami, right? And that's what we've got to look at in terms of Tallahassee, in terms of the capital city, in terms of the Panhandle, the Big Bend area, in terms of our fan base, our stakeholders, and who we are as it relates to the audience, if you will, that these companies are investing in. And so once we establish a baseline, I don't want to just pull something out of the air or say, yeah, we can do that without having the data, because there may be representatives of some of these companies that are listening to your show or that will listen to your show. And I want the opportunity to sell into their mission, sell into their goals, but also be able to present that on behalf of President Beard, our board of trustees, our foundation board, and as it relates to what we are producing, our student body leadership is going to be very important, that we hear from them and we understand what their commitment is to, the student experience under their leadership, and how we can then help to be of value and to provide value and add value to the goals that they have for the student body as well.
I didn't even realize this. Thanks to Royal Miriam. How about this? Number 19, Xavier Smith. Just talk about what a weekend for that number 19, right? Yes. Xavier Smith doing his thing on Sunday.
What a story.
Oh man, the numbers.
You talking about a journey? Hey, you talking about a journey? Boy, that's one.
I didn't even know the whole. I didn't know the whole story until I went back and reread the article from 2023 about his journey with Amazon and how he was out of school for a year, and I was like, wow, that's so awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. All right, so I know I said I wasn't going to talk about requests, but only because I love Earl. and I know Earl wants to know. One or two options: the Hill or the Cannon. AD Suggs, which is more likely? How about this? I ask you that: which is more likely to come back? Not saying it will, but which is more likely? What's more possible for Earl? This is just for Earl.
I need to dig in and see. I need to have a conversation and see where we are. I mean, I grew up, the season tickets that I have, or my husband and I have in our names, are my parents' season tickets. So the Cannon, yeah, I grew up with the Cannon, and the Hill, I've, there's been a lot. Kelvin, don't put me out there like that. I've got to get some understanding and some permissions as it relates to what the rules are. Earl, I've had my fair share of walking with the fire marshal and the health department and, all of these people. So we've just got to figure out what ingress and egress policies that are there and just see how we can make it work. So I spoke about solutions, solution focused and results oriented. Solution may look a little different, but we definitely will take a look.
I'm going to read that, Earl, to say it's more likely to get the Cannon. You're more likely to get the Cannon back, Earl.
No, I didn't say
that. No. Hey, don't put your 2 cents in it. She answered that perfectly.
She did. Just rewind. We'll edit
I've got to speak on both of those. I've got to speak to plant operations and maintenance, and the risk management and the fire marshal, and see where we are and what we can do.
Simpler times back in the day. You just roll the Cannon out there. Just simpler times, man. Boom.
Hey,
with
by the way,
real ammunition. No, we would drive to Moultrie, Georgia, to actually get the ammunition and the cannon from the base to bring the cannon back. We then went to a simulated cannon that was kind of like a super duper firecracker, and that didn't work. But it's a whole thing, managing how many ships. Because now, when I was here the first time, you tried to manage the number of shells or the number of cannon, the ammunition that you had. And sometimes we might get close to running out because we scored, more times than we had cannon, ammo for. So it's definitely something that, going back to the beginning and the earlier questions, knowing what happens, how the sausage is made is a whole nother thing for sure.
It means something, right? It means something. One of the, and so I love one of my classmates, Marcus. He comes down all the way from Macon, Georgia. And this is an interesting question, because while you have these two different groups, right? And we want to reach out to what's close to us. There is a bit of a, sometime, and I've heard it, a bit of a disconnect for the folks who come from out of town. How do you plan to bridge that? How do we bridge that where we are able to reach not only the folks that are within that hour radius of the stadium, but also the folks who come in, the folks who come out of town, with some of the challenges that we often hear about? How do you propose, or just maybe just your thoughts on working to make sure that experience is enjoyable for everyone, out of town Rattlers as well as the more local Rattlers?
Sure. And I know that there is conversation about what it takes to get into Tallahassee, right? But I think that as we look at the momentum that has been built with the winning seasons of our football team, the fact that we're having these conversations where we have a winning streak right at home, we've got to really just take a look at the fact that Tallahassee is a football town in the fall. And Tallahassee we, like I said in another interview, if we have more weddings and family reunions and events that are happening in Tallahassee throughout the entire year, then legislative session, graduation, and football season may get a little relief, because our cousins and neighbors and parents and grandparents that work in the hospitality industry, particularly in our hotels, they need to get paid on June 27th, the same way that they get paid on September 19th or October 19th or whatever day it is. And in order for these for-profit entities to make their budgets and be able to pay, they've got to project out and figure out how they are going to keep the lights on and how they are going to pay the people that work there every day of the year, because the hotel never closes. Never closes. They are always open. And so those are just things just within the hospitality industry. But as we look at the comparisons, you're not flying into Tuscaloosa unless you're flying in on your own plane. You're not flying into Athens, Georgia, unless you are flying in on your own plane. You're flying into Atlanta. You are then, you are renting a car, or you're driving past Atlanta to then go to Athens. You're flying into Birmingham, and then you're driving over to Tuscaloosa, and you are paying to be there for that experience to the tune of 80,000 people. So what we're looking at is how we create that experience for 20 or so thousand people that we have inside Bragg Stadium. And with the hotel rates, it's just like the church national convention or the fraternity or the sorority national convention, the whatever other social organization. Is just like travel ball for our kids. It's just like, because gone are the days of $89 and $95 and $100 a night, even for youth sports. We have that conversation all the time as it relates to travel ball, and that's well over 5 nights, right? Or 5 weekends. When you're talking about travel ball, you are traveling all year long. You're traveling fall ball, you're traveling spring ball, you're traveling summer ball, you're traveling 4 and 5 nights, and you're going through whatever travel company and you're paying it week in and week out. But it's the investment that we're making. And so we've just got to have the conversations. We've got to then present the package. We've got to sell the value. The teams are doing their parts. The coaches are doing their part. And so what we've got to do is create that experience that's going to be worth it, right? For you. And even if you can, Marcus, as we talk about, coming in for 4 and 5 times, well, if you can't, or if we run out of gas by the 5th or the 6th game, because we've done it before. We've seen years where we had 6 home games, and that 6th home game is the week before Florida Classic, and we are bare bones. Well, that's not the time to go to the community. That's not the time to go to the 850, because we depend on them, and we say, well, let's just make it a youth day, or let's just do this. And we don't want the local community to be an afterthought. We want to think about them on the front end the same way that we think about people. I want people to come from all over the world to a FAMU game. And that if there are Rattlers that are in Germany or wherever they are, because that's where they're living, that at least one game, that game may be homecoming, or it may be Hall of Fame weekend, or it may be whatever weekend that is. And so we are thinking beyond 850, but we can't make 850 an afterthought either, because we need them in Lawson on a Thursday or on a Monday night. And that's where we're talking about being in the community, not just for football, but we want to pack out all of our venues and have standing room only. And that's really, when I speak about the community and the 850. We want you to be able to run down to Tallahassee from Thomasville or Bainbridge. If we're going to Bainbridge to eat steaks, I know we can come from Bainbridge to go to a game. So.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I gotta check that out. I roll with Kelvin, Kelvin's people. He be rolling up to the across the state line to go eat steaks. Kelvin, that one resonated with you, didn't he, Kelvin? Huh?
Hey, back when I was in school, I may have crossed the line for other reasons.
Woo! All right, AD, I'm gonna get you out of here with one final one here. Jens P ask about what are your thoughts on facility upgrades, specifically baseball, softball, other non-revenue sports? I know we recently seen some upgrades with our tennis court facilities. That was awesome, but yeah, we see what's out there with baseball and softball. What are your thoughts?
That's a great question. Definitely, as we take a look at those two championship programs that you mentioned there, again, we've still got to go. I've still got to go back and speak with Mr. Towton, speak with university construction, facilities, and planning. What's already in the works? What is the university master plan? Where does athletics fit into that? What are the priorities? I know that we definitely are housing the beautiful facilities and the upgrades that have come in terms of the villages and the towers and the new 700 bed that's about to come online. Well, where do we fit? I've been a part of conversations in my previous stop at the university where we did talk about that, but where are we now? And if there is opportunity for us to take a look at that, what we want to do is take a look at what we really need it to be or want it to be 5-10 years from now. Not that we are just, and we will, there are some things that we'll take a look at as you look at backstop padding, if you look at, some of the everyday things that come there. Our batting cages, softball is getting a new cage there. Baseball has a fairly new one there, but there are many things that we need done, right? The field at baseball, we've got to take a look at that. Practice field for football, got to take a look at that. But as it relates to upgrades to facilities, I don't want to necessarily just look at upgrades. If it's new, we want to be prepared if Oprah or if Warren Buffett and others that are pouring into universities, we want to be prepared to have the answer as a university. Because as I mentioned before, it's the Florida A&M University Department of Intercollegiate Athletics. It's not just FAMU Athletics at 1835 out there, Gibson Way. So that we have a collective answer, that we know how that fits into the overall facilities plan. What are they looking to do at other areas on campus that may then also be a resource for athletics, or athletics can be a resource for them. And so while I know that that's not a direct answer to your question, I do recognize it as a need. What I'd like for us to be able to do is have a solid approach to that, have a facilities plan for athletics that we at least know how much it costs, to not just add on here and still not have a locker room for these two sports. But then how much is it to actually have a locker room, have a meeting room, have a training room, have everything that we really need to be an excellent and competitive, best-in-class Division I FCS program?
Great answer.
Awesome stuff. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Feeling good. I just want to thank everyone for your support. Thank everyone for your energy, all of your well wishes. Thank you And as we say in the church, thank you for what you've done, what you're going to do, and what you're doing right now. But we're going to do it together. And I'm not naive. For over 20 years, I have chosen to work in an industry that is powered by the passion of people. And so there are debates that go on forever. There are people that walk out on the debate. There are people that do all of these things, but then they still come back and cheer for their team. At the end of the day, if people wear me out one day, or love on what we're doing the next day, I know that we all want for FAMU to be best in class. We all want 14 championships in all of our sports. We all want to grow the sports. We all want what we're talking about in terms of the 6-time #1 public HBCU. We want that as it relates to the championship perspective of Florida A&M athletics as well.
I'm going to echo the sentiments of Rocky from last night. With that said, that excitement and that good feeling, Kenya, that good feeling that all y'all are having in the chat room. Now y'all go ahead. Hold on, let me see. Where's my flyer at? Where's my little donation QR code, Kelvin? Do I still have it? I don't think this has been a minute since I flashed it, but you know where to go find. I don't even know if I still have it. I mean, oh, wait a minute. There it is. Hold up. Boom. All right, right there. All that warm feeling that y'all have, 19. Some version of $19, $19, 1,919. What Rocky say? 19,190. However you playing your numbers. I saw it. Whoever put that in there made me want to run out to the store. Did I miss the window? There it is. There's the QR code. Go ahead and drop a donation now while it's fresh. Exactly. Mr. Campbell said 19, hashtag 1919. Whatever you got to do, make the donation now. So I'm going to echo Brother Rocky and Mr. Campbell and Coach Cole from yesterday on their show and encourage Rattler Nation to donate now. The Rattler Athletic Fund is right where you can make that donation. And, we start now. We're not waiting. Right. We're not waiting for yesterday. We're not waiting for October 7th. It's now. Now it's go time, Rattlers. Y'all excited? Let's go. It's go time.
Hey, Brian, you made a reference when you was talking to Angela earlier, and I had this line I wanted to get in, right? And it's not my line. It comes from Dr. Valencia Matthews. And my daughter goes to ice camp, and this is her second year going to ice camp. And one of the things she talked about when she's talking to the parents, she talks about how important ice camping is to her, and she has this line where she says, "If something is important to you, it should show. You should act like it." So all you Rattlers out there, y'all say y'all love FAMU, we brag different. If that's the case, it's supposed to show. Make sure we donate, support. You feeling good? Let's support our athletic department.
And on behalf of our coaches and our student athletes, thank you. Thank you for your donations, because it definitely goes directly to the experience and motivating them. And so thank you on behalf of them, truly.
Want to be respectful of your time. I know you had a long
day.
And if I say so myself, friend, you slayed it. You always do, because you're talking from a point of knowledge, and it just oozes out. So we're glad to have you. I'm so happy. Any way we can contribute, help. This platform is available to you. Anything, anything I can do to assist you, you got it.
I appreciate it. And to everyone that is in the area or vicinity of Helene, just please stay safe. Our student athletes are safe, and our coaches and everyone is on top of that. The administration of the department definitely is all hands on deck with that. And so thank you all so much, and you all stay safe. Fangs up.
Right. You too, 80 Suggs. Fangs up. All right. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The story 1A for the week. The ultimate interview. Just a great 72 hours of conversations and interviews, starting from the press conference to shout out to Germany Bozeman. I saw Germany do a good interview with AD Suggs. And then, of course, Mr. Campbell and Rocky and Coach Cole. And, very cool. Very cool, man.
Really good week for FAMU, man.
Man, good week. Great week for FAMU.
Yeah.
Even though no football game, but still a great week for FAMU.
Yeah.